Once upon a time, in the wild and wonderful Valley of Verdant Views, there lived a flashy peacock named Percy. Percy was the talk of the town, known for his magnificent tail feathers that sparkled like a box of lost jewels, dazzling blues, fiery oranges, and even a sprinkle of royal purples. Every day, Percy would prance and twirl, showing off his glorious feathers for all to see. Beside Percy's grand estate lived a humble hedgehog named Holly. Holly was small and spiky, nowhere near as flashy as Percy. She spent her days carefully tending to her garden, where plump berries burst with sweetness and leafy greens waved in the breeze. One bright and breezy morning, the animals of the valley decided to throw a humongous hootenanny, a celebration of friendship with extra oomph. "I will definitely be the star attraction," Percy squawked, fluffing his feathers into a shimmering cloud. "No one can outdazzle my spectacular tail." Holly heard Percy's boast and chuckled softly. "Sometimes," she said gently, "it's not always the flashiest or the loudest who make the biggest difference." But Percy simply scoffed, more interested in practicing his strut. The day of the hootenanny arrived, and sure enough, Percy was the center of attention. He told tales of daring escapes from wily foxes and the secrets of how his feathers got so very shimmery. Meanwhile, Holly quietly set up a cozy corner with piles of her yummy berries and leaves, a feast for any hungry partygoer. But just as the celebration reached its peak, with animals laughing and dancing, a grumpy storm cloud stomped across the valley. Rain poured in buckets. The animals scattered, desperate for shelter. In the downpour, Percy's feathers drooped and clumped, turning a muddy brown. Embarrassed and miserable, Percy scurried under a brush, feeling very sorry for himself. It was Holly who found him, her prickly back glistening with raindrops. Without saying a word, she offered him some sweet berries and a giant sheltering leaf. "Why are you helping me?" Percy whimpered. "I was so unkind to you." Holly gave him a warm smile. "In the Valley of Verdant Views, we look out for each other. Today, you learn that too much pride can lead to a soggy fall, but kindness can always help you grow again." Percy looked at Holly, truly seeing her for the first time. "I've certainly eaten a big helping of humble pie today," he sighed. From that day on, Percy was a changed peacock. He still loved his feathers. They were very pretty after all. But he was no longer a show-off. Holly and Percy became the best of friends, and the Valley of Verdant Views sparkled brighter than ever. Remember, the animals learned that being kind was far more important than being showy, and that even the fanciest peacock might need a helping hand or paw sometimes. Now, humble pie is a very interesting expression that teaches us a valuable lesson about humility and learning from our mistakes. But have you ever wondered where this funny phrase comes from? Let's dive into a little story to discover its meaning and history. Well, imagine a long time ago, there was a dish called umble pie, not humble as we say today. The word umble referred to the parts of a deer that were considered less fancy and not usually eaten by the rich people. They were more often eaten by the servants or people who couldn't afford the premium cuts of meat. So eating umble pie was quite literally eating a pie made of less desirable parts. Over time, people started to say humble pie instead of umble pie. This phrase turned into a clever way to talk about a situation where someone might have to lower their pride or admit they were wrong, much like having to eat the less desirable parts of a meal instead of feasting on the best parts. It's as if by acknowledging we're not always right, we're taking a bite out of a very humbling kind of pie. In many parts of the world, especially in English-speaking countries, when someone says they're eating humble pie, it means they're admitting they made a mistake or acknowledging that they're not as great as they might have thought. It's like saying, "Oops, I guess I wasn't as clever or as right as I thought I was. So now I have to admit it and learn from it." So, humble pie isn't a dessert you'd find on a menu. It's a way of saying that sometimes we need to be humble, say sorry, and learn from our mistakes. It teaches us that being humble or not too proud is important because everyone makes mistakes, and it's how we grow and become better friends, family members, and people in our big, wide world. Just like Percy the Peacock learned to appreciate his friends and not just his own feathers, we can all learn to share the spotlight, listen, and help each other out. That way, the humble pie we sometimes have to eat will make us wiser and kinder in the long run. And who knows, real humble pie might not taste so bad after all, especially when shared with a friend.